Bill. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am very good. How busy are you today?
Uh, yeah, I don't think I even want to talk
Uh,
about it. That's how busy I am. It's a lot going on, but it's all good. But the preparation for the second half of the year and the content slate really kicks into gear here as we
Mm.
get into the latter half of 2024, which is exciting, but there's a lot to do.
Shouldn't you have all your Christmas movies in production right about now?
A lot of them, some of them have been produced already. But that doesn't mean that we're done because we have to go through and edit and pick the right music and make sure it is conveying the right message and feels good. And that's kind of when the work continues. I won't say it starts there, but in a lot of ways, it's a long way from being done.
A lot of channels produce tentpole programming. A giant mini series, all these kind of, a really blockbuster series. You guys are one of the channels that goes on themes rather than a single tentpole show and volume. So, what is the benefit of that approach other than like an HBO, which may produce a Sopranos, but nothing that's that big a deal at the same time, or a Game of Thrones or something like that? So, what's the benefit of your themes and the sheer amount of original programming you're doing?
Yeah, so Kate, that's a great question and a great observation, and it's absolutely true. I will say we'll have some big announcements coming that will be bigger budget movies that are going to be great for us. But uh, beyond that, it's HBO. We've seen it with AMC, where they've had a few big hit shows, but then once that well runs dry, the financial model changes dramatically, and you can see the result in both AMC and Max, the result in their stock price. So from our point of view, we want to provide a consistent experience for the subscriber and the viewer on a weekly basis. And to do that, we don't need to do the huge, big budget series or movies that are the tentpole pieces because our audience is really just looking to be entertained in a certain way on a weekly basis. And we find that model just financially is more sound and isn't so hit dependent. And I wouldn't. It's hard enough sleeping at night when you've got a consistent seasonal theme going or a run of movies going where you're getting a lot of viewership. But I can't imagine trying to develop a hit series that puts you in a position where you have to drive people to your service, keep them there for that period of time, and then potentially they go away. So, from our point of view, it's really that turn it on and leave it on experience that is so key. And we do everything from interstitials to talent reads that really try and enliven the on-air approach and look on the linear side.
It's a little closer to the older broadcast model where tune in to CBS or ABC or whatever, and you're going to get a certain kind of show. Stay with us all night. That's largely been abandoned in most of television.
It's true. And I think that really AMC and FX were so successful in the original series business in the early and mid 2000s that they created a lot of FOMO and a lot of channels went out and big organizations and started pursuing those big hits. And that was really one of the beginning of the decline of the linear cable business when the focus was solely on that big series that either made you or broke you.
Yep.
We can see kind of the residue now that's the result that those channels are having quite a difficult time.
You guys aren't trying to break through as the home of X series. You're breaking through as the home of, it seems to me, all of this stuff that is similar. And if you tune in, you're going to get more of this stuff. You're not just tuning in for one show, you're tuning in. It's like you're not just a boutique, you are Walmart.
Yeah, no,
Where
that's
you,
absolutely right.
yeah.
And I think we the family friendly experience really plays well to that, and that you can turn us on and you never have to worry about content issues, and you can feel comfortable watching the channel 24/7.
Yeah, we hear that a lot from viewers when we write about things that I mean, if you're an adult with complete control over your remote and complete control over your TV, you know exactly what's on. You turn this on, you turn that on, you don't worry. But when you've got kids in the house, the parental controls get onerous. People like, I want to play. I mean, maybe kids aren't necessarily interested in all of your programming because it is more oriented toward grown-ups,
Yeah.
romantic comedies and things. But you don't have to be scared if they wander through the room. I have shows that I like, and I tell people there's one in particular, like, send the children to the neighbors, like, just in case,
Yeah, yeah.
because this is really, really not for them. So
No,
what do your demographics look like, and what are you hearing from your viewers? Because you're not for necessarily whole family viewing, but you're safe for the whole family.
yeah, and at Christmas time, that dynamic changes a little bit in that, the whole family does tend to watch more consistently together. But our demographics really are across the board. We find certainly there are, as all networks have, a lot of older viewers, and that's just the reality of the linear cable space. But we have a lot of families and women 25-54 who are looking to ensure that the environment and that something that's on either isn't going to give them nightmares. Life is hard enough. We don't need to
So
put
true.
something on that's going to shock you or make you feel unsafe. And that's a big piece of it. So, or have your kids see it and have them have nightmares. So, that's a big piece of our success and what we're building here.
I feel like in terms of being able to turn the TV on and leave it on, you're not competing with even HBO or USA or FX or whatever. You're competing with HGTV,
Yes, very,
National
very much,
Geographic Planet, Animal Planet,
very
all those
much.
places where you Cooking Channel. That
Yeah,
has become family TV. It's
absolutely.
not unscripted TV, but it's like you're trying to take that back into the scripted realm. And you also do unscripted at the same time.
Yes, absolutely right. And Animal and Discovery, when they launch Shark Week, will become a very much a family destination.
Yep.
Is no question, and that'll be, again, the leave it turned on, leave it on experience that they created so well over there is a big piece of family viewing.
So it's been a year since you got Pure Flix. And I just saw, now you have 4 series coming out, at least three and a half. I'm not sure if the most recent one has premiered yet. What is the thinking behind putting multiple original series on the streamer, which is really more of a pick and choose environment than linear television?
Yeah, so we're not alone in trying to figure out the streaming model and maximize it. The entire industry is in upheaval right now because of the
To say
changes
the
in the
least.
landscape. And certainly series work really, really well in streaming and keep the audience engaged over a period of weeks, whereas so you can reduce churn and you're not in a position where, people
Explain
stop watching.
churn
So
for
yeah,
the
so
TV.
churn is
I mean,
if you
I know
have
what
a,
churn is. What is
yeah,
churn to you?
yeah, well, churn for us is just when the consumer is so besieged by so many choices and things that they want to watch that are in multiple places that they have to subscribe to 3, 4, 5 services to get the content that they want to
I'm
watch.
kind of over that right now.
A lot of people are getting to that point, which is a
I'm
whole
I'm
new
like, I don't
thing.
want even one more.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing the industry is going to deal with next. That's the next problem the industry is going to deal with. But in the interim, people that have 3 to 5 services can't, that's not sustainable if you want to add something because it's a series or a movie or something you really want to watch. So in our case, they'll come in, they'll watch either on a trial for 7 days or they'll pay for it for a month and then boom, they're out. And that is devastating to our economic model and really puts us in a position where we need those series that allow us to keep the audience in for longer than a 7-day trial or a month. And series play very differently in streaming than they do in linear. Linear, it's harder
Mhm.
because once you watch it once, when you're at, you're not going to watch it subsequently over and over and over. And we're an ad-driven model. And so, the one time that somebody watches something isn't good enough. We need people to come back and repeat watching, and movies and older series do that, not so much the new series. So for us on the streaming side, we really need those series that allow us to keep consumers engaged over a period of time.
We've got the Netflix model, which is generally dump them all at once, say goodbye to your weekend.
Yep.
And then you've got the HBO, which is one per week.
Yep.
Like House of the Dragon just premiered, one per week. Gilded Age going to come one per week. Which do you prefer?
Well, I prefer as a consumer, dump it all at once and be able to watch it all in a row.
Yeah.
As a person in the business, the model works much better when it's over a period of time. So we've gone with that model that's one a week and have been successful with it. But I understand, certainly, I think the consumer, we've done a number of focus groups on this. The consumer always comes back with, I want them all right now so I can binge it and be done with it. But from a financial point of view, that's one of the many things in streaming that is disadvantageous to
Yeah.
all bottom line.
It's almost a war between what the audience wants and
Yeah,
how they want it
that's
and
well
the way
said.
that you're given it. It used to be television dictated to this is how you get your stuff, deal with it.
Well
But
said.
once you give people choice, they like it. And now it
Absolutely.
becomes a negotiation.
And now it's become a habit. And this is where, frustration is really getting to a high level. And we're seeing it even within our service that people are very frustrated and they're very tired of paying multiple services and having to figure out where their content is. And the streaming experience overall is terrific in some cases, but having to once you figure out how to get there, but the navigation and the technology, and that's a whole separate
Yeah, as soon as
area that
somebody truly seamlessly, frictionlessly cracks the TV listings for the internet,
it will
then
happen.
they're going to make a whole lot of money.
Yeah, I think that there will be consolidation. I think that's inevitable. And once there's
Excuse me
consolidation,
for the tail end of a cold.
oh, that's okay. Once there's consolidation, you'll see a much cleaner experience. Of course, you'll pay $59.99 for a
You,
service that includes Disney Plus, Max, and
yeah,
Paramount.
they're bundling.
Yeah, yeah,
I seem to remember that back in ye olden days, that your cable system would bundle your cable channels.
yes,
Yeah, everything old is new again.
yes, it is.
So, looking forward, how do you want to integrate the balance of your linear channels and your streaming so that you don't have people like, well, I just want to watch the streaming, or I can't be bothered with the streaming. I just want to watch a linear. How do you expand the brand so that people want both?
That is right now very challenging because you've got almost two very divided audiences. The people that love linear cable and are not canceling, they're not cutting the cord. And then you've got the people that love streaming that will never go back to linear cable. And so, we've seen that both sides are
I
frustrated.
don't have a cable box anymore. I have cable uh through an app.
Yeah, yeah. And the cable box is, going to be someday will be in a museum somewhere. But right now,
Along with the VCR
that's right, and the
and the
DVR, or,
DVD player.
or what it's already in the can't think what it was. The TiVo is already in the
Oh
museum.
my gosh, the
But
TiVo. Wow, I'd forgotten about TiVo.
yeah, yeah. But I think what we'll see is that ultimately the two will come together. But right now, we try and be cognizant of satisfying both the subscriber and the viewer of linear cable, and it's trying to thread a needle. And we can do it a lot better, and we need to keep working at doing it better, but we're trying to stagger our windows so we provide a great experience on both platforms.
Of course, you're in the family business, but you're also in the faith business, especially after the acquisition of Pure Flix. And probably the majority of families in this country, if they have a religion, they're probably Christian. But there are families, there are Hindu families, there are Muslim families, there are Jewish families, there's a long list. And they still want stuff that's safe for their kids to watch. But they don't necessarily want Christian content. So how do you balance the two so that you're not eliminating people on the family side because you're leaning maybe a little too much to the faith side? So what's the mix of that?
Yeah, and that's where the art comes in over science. And when you see a piece of content on the faith side, it's not necessarily going to be for people who have one religion. There are certain shows like The Chosen and like other content that's been produced over time that is through a very strong Christian worldview lens. But I think if you're a person of any faith, there are stories you can see that celebrate faith. Like I look at A Christmas Present, for example, that Candace did 2 years ago for us, and that movie. It doesn't matter what faith you are. It's the notion of having faith and believing in, a higher being that allows you to really enjoy that movie. And so, we try and not be, again, approaching things through one worldview, but we try and approach it just from a faith perspective.
I recently had a conversation with Father Randy Maddox
Ah,
from Great American Community, your Catholic buddy.
yes.
So we're going to see a show, like a more explicitly Catholic show, because weirdly, it works really well, of course, in supernatural stories, but also in murder mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
We've got right now your Father Brown. You've got your the nun on BritBox, whose name has escaped me at the moment. All the fans will be angry at me. Sister Boniface. So there are certain genres in which a more explicitly Catholic focus is just fine with the audience.
Yeah, yeah.
Apparently, when there's murders to be investigated, we're all about that. And Father Brown is not the first TV series with a crime-solving clergy person. So, what do you think about that?
I think that the world is divisive enough, and that the notion of Christians and Catholics and Baptists, and that everybody has there are different pieces that are certainly different, and we celebrate those differences every day, and we want to be cognizant and respectful of those differences. But at the end of the day, it's basically the same fundamental value system, and that's really where I think we try and live so that we're inclusive and we're not offending anybody, and that we're not just for one religion or one set of people of faith. People of faith, so they have a lot more in common than they do that are different, things that are different.
So, you gonna do murder mysteries?
We are. Our first one with Candace is coming up this July on streaming, and it'll be on the linear service 2 months later. And so we're very excited about that. And
What about? I just wonder, what is it about murder mysteries that the family slash faith slash female audience just cannot get enough of? What's your thinking on that phenomenon?
I think there are a couple of different types of murder mysteries. There's the really scary Dateline
Yeah,
type of show.
serial killer. Yeah,
Yeah, and they're real, but this this is more of a what we produce anyway is more of what the cozy mystery, that the whodunit, the Agatha Christie leaning into a specific place or venue, like she did so brilliantly with The Train. The way you lean into those characters and some of just the it's almost like a fantasy that everybody wants to figure out how someone, what the steps were to figuring out who did it. And, this the focus isn't necessarily that somebody has died. I mean, if you think about it, it's pretty dark, but
Yeah.
that's not where the emphasis is. It's more on, how you struggle to figure out who actually was the perpetrator. So
Yeah,
they're
I had a
fun.
friend who had a mystery bookstore, and I used to go like hang out for a bit, and 90% of the people in there were women,
Yeah.
unless it was a guy coming for a Clive Cussler novel.
Yeah.
And like her theory was that women love puzzles and women love people, and a murder mystery is a people puzzle.
Yeah. Well, very well said. Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Is there anything that you sort of been urged to do that you just don't think is in the cards right now?
Great question. We Yeah, I would have said the answer would have been a resounding yes back in first quarter, but we've really put our plans together well, I think, for Easter of 2025, if we look that far out. And so, Easter is a big focal point for us, given, the nature of our services. And certainly Christmas we feel good about, and we have a number of big announcements that are coming that we think are going to be terrific experiences for our subscribers and our viewers. So you always want to do more, but right now, I think it's important for the business to become, just that much more solid on the overall branding front, and to really lean in and invest in the brand and in the consistency. And then, over time, we'll grow that and develop something that's even bigger and better. But for right now, we feel good about where we are.
Storytelling is tricky for Easter. Christmas, you've got
Very,
this entire
very true.
penumbra of cultural customs and, just tons of stuff, cookies and Santa Claus and reindeer and whatever. Easter, that penumbra is a lot smaller. You basically got chocolate and bunnies.
Yeah, and we've learned the hard way there. A number of years ago, we did a movie that was more uh, egg hunts and chocolate candy and candy bunnies. And that, was, I won't say it was not successful, but it certainly wasn't a resounding
Mm.
success. And so, we're learning, and we're learning. I think the movie Just in Time that Candace produced this year was a wonderful journey that incorporated faith and incorporated relationships. And that's really, I think, where the North Star is in Easter. It's a celebration of a lot of things. And at the same time, you don't want to be so heavy-handed that it becomes a story about religion, but you can't use the typical Christmas devices the way you
No.
do that at Easter.
What does it mean to have Mario Lopez? Because you've got Candace Cameron Bure, who is enormous to this channel. What does it mean to have a deal with Mario Lopez?
Well, if you take a step back and you look at the 2010 through 2019, both Mario was a lead star at Lifetime and Candace was the lead star at that other place. And we are in a position where we have both now. And that speaks volumes about the future of our business. And Mario is an even better person than he is talent. And that's saying a lot, because I've never seen anyone so buttoned up and prepared and focused as Mario Lopez. He is a machine. And yet at the same time, he lives his beliefs
Mhm.
outside of the world of performing in a way that we all admire so much. So he's a treasure, and we're proud and privileged to work with him.
Now, Candace has an executive function and part of
Yes.
the creative team at the network. How does Mario slot into that? other than just starring in things, which people love to see. But what more are you going to ask of him?
Yeah, so Mario's executive producer on a movie that we're doing with Alexa and Carlos Penavega that will be premiering in at Christmas. And it's a great, terrific story about the Salvation Army and Love at the Kettle, it's called. And Mario is a big
For a
support.
moment, I thought that was one of my favorite restaurants in Manhattan Beach, but
Yeah. He's great. And so he will also bring us projects and weigh in on content. And our talent, we love our talent. They're part of the family. We want their input. We want to hear what they think. Because they're not only great in front of the screen, many of them are really, really insightful because they've been in the business for so long and they know what works for the audience and what doesn't.
and
And
they
so,
understand your target audience. They
and
understand this this
that's right,
this slice of the bit.
Kate, that's
Not
absolutely,
everyone understands this slice of the business.
yes. And a lot of no, a lot of other places take content, throw it on the air, don't curate it, don't spend the time to eliminate some of the moments that are not quite as well done as they should be. And that's the biggest point of difference with us. We think that the quality of our content comes through with talent like Mario and Candace and others.
When
Hey,
you
Kate,
look at
we
it,
have time for one more question.
okay. Um, what is the thing you most want to add? You got your Christmas, you got your Easter, like what is something you're targeting? A holiday, a time of year, an activity. What is it you're targeting for something new to add to the mix?
I think we need to fill in around the big times of the year that our brand is well known and become more of that 365 destination. And I don't know if it's any one thing in particular, although if I had to give you one thing, it would be an original series with a lot of recognizable talent and probably has some brand equity. And so we're thinking through that and how we do that. That would be really a signature piece for us that is one of those in your evolution and your line of growth. Certainly that's one of those an important stop along the way that helps you accelerate your overall profile.
Now, if you had a series that somehow incorporated all the holidays,
Yeah, well,
wow,
never
whatever
know.
that
That's
would be,
yep,
that's probably gold.
yep.